Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. It is Friday, TGIF, and all that. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. We are coming into the tail end of the holiday season, thank heavens. Got about another week or so to go, and we will put all of this behind us, but today is a big options expiry day. It is the December contract, so not a big surprise actually to see everything just sort of parked. Having said that, the trends of late, stocks up, risk on, risking on, risk off, risking off. But interesting, I can almost sort of feel the market coming into some sort of pivot here. Who knows? Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but our risk on, risk off kind of conversations. Gold really never did really lose too much through this consolidation here. The bonds actually a bit of an uptick today, but econs didn't really come out overly startling. I think probably more bond weakness is just attributed to stocks just continuing to go parabolic here. We are getting a bit of a pullback in oil. In full disclosure, I let some of my oil proxies go. I had one oil stock on that I wasn't overly impressed with, so I blew it out at a little bit of a profit today, but nothing startling. Really, I'd like to keep the remaining oil positions I have on into the spring on the good quality names. But you can see oil's coming off here a bit today. So I did take advantage of that uppy market and cleaned up the books a little bit. But that's here nor there. Point is, risk on in stocks, and I still think they're moving this market into the 1 year pivot of the panic low last year. So we'll really see how it acts around the Christmas break. And, when we look at the individual stock indexes, what I see is NASDAQ is fast approaching its AB equals CD objective. The Dow here is very close to, in fact, it's already hit one AB CD objective. I think it's coming into this trendline resistance peak and this smaller AB equals CD objective. And interesting to see that the small caps still have a long way to go before they actually hit their ultimate. And this was a massive consolidation that basically was over the entire year of 2020. So I do believe that the stock market is actually heading higher. The Fed's been basically put back in the box. We can see that to a certain degree with the US dollar index. We're just trapped in this massive, this is a huge range. We talked about stopwashes up top, stopwashes down below. And gee whiz, here we are right back at the middle of the range. A little bit of a wick here. That is previous market structure fail level. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's a little stopwash against these guys and then we pivot back down a bit. And interestingly, you can actually see that they've left a bit of a marker here. So yes, US dollar is enjoying a bit of a rally here today, but nice cheeky little gap right there. Probably going to be a bit of a magnet on any kind of pullbacks. But for the time being, we're up here. And like I said, interesting to see how the gold market is sort of hanging in here as the US dollar just sort of goes sideways. From that last sort of corresponding level on the US dollar index. So that low there was like June, I guess back at the beginning of the summer. So those lows sort of correspond with these lows here in the gold. These highs in the gold, interestingly enough, seem to correspond with these highs in the US dollar. So in a weird sort of way, we actually have dollar gold moving in conjunction here, which is a bit dangerous. Usually, historically, these actually like to move in opposites, but we'll see what happens. There is that S&P stock market just going to new highs. Interesting to see the oil market has finally sort of said, oh, you know what, I'm getting a little bit of vertigo up here. And I was sort of telling people in the daily brief today, like I said, some of the questionable oil trades that I had on, I just let them go because I don't need to be a hero here. And I'm getting concerned that we're getting sort of back up into levels where if I wanted to actually short against these highs, this actually isn't a bad area to think about. And the seasonal trade that when I was a commodities broker was buy your unleaded the middle of February, sell it the middle of May, and made money 9 out of the past 10 years. So believe it or not, for oil, I'm actually thinking, there is February in there. So believe it or not, call me crazy, but I'm actually thinking something along those lines. So as I said, I've let questionable oil trades go. Some oil that I like and they're substantially in the money, I'll just leave those alone. See if I can collect dividends, that kind of thing. But on balance, I don't need to be a hero in the energy market now. And should we get this kind of dip back against reload zones, I'll definitely go back and look at them again, but not right now. Still, I'm on gold proxies that we picked up there through the seasonal trough there. The big boys, interesting how Barrick's just kind of chopping sideways here. I really don't like the look of this fractal, and of course Newmont's just gone ridiculously up here. But at the same time too, Newmont has a plan, right? They want their stock up, damn it. So if this thing just went sideways and then started to work its way higher, that wouldn't shock me. But you can also see in the broader gold and silver stock indexes, we're actually making lower highs and lower lows now here. So like if we change this gold stock index to a line chart, you can start seeing M's start to develop here. So, same sort of thing. I'm not really too excited about shorting these, but I definitely could see that there is some room for backfilling here, but they haven't broken down per se. I think this is more just sort of like maybe range conversation, and maybe we just backfill and just fill in some of these gaps here, like on Newmont and stuff. And maybe Barrick comes back down into POC and stuff like that, but I don't know. I mean, I certainly can't really justify going and buying anything there. So, I'm kind of just sitting on the fence. And, winning trades that are in great profit positions, there's no really sense in touching them, especially if I buy them for registered accounts. But new trade ideas coming in and buying against these highs here, oh man, that gives me vertigo. And at the same time, too, I'm not overly impressed with what I've got here. I did go and buy some gold stock in here, but, and they're still nicely higher. One of the stocks that I bought was this Alio, and it's still just sort of mulling around up at the top end of his range here. That's a 4-hour chart. I like stepping in on the long side. This is the U.S. stock. Actually, I own it in Canada. And I'm kind of rambling here. Sorry, guys. But, I do like this W. I want to be long off of here. I certainly wouldn't think about shorting this kind of idea. And if this thing does ultimately crap out and blow through these lows, then I'll just walk away. But as you can see, I'm not really in a buying area. If I want to buy more, maybe down in here. And if I want to sell, I'm probably thinking of selling up in here. This cheeky little gap, top of value, etc., etc. So, not really doing anything in the gold. And like I said, I actually let some oil go. What are the kind of names that I'm buying? Believe it or not, actually, I've been buying quite a bit of crypto lately in the stock market. So here's two examples of ideas that actually we are getting filled on. This SRAX, you can see the original bottom down here. So all we did was come down, wash these lows, and we put in this nice violent reversal. It's not really a buy signal on a weekly basis, but one of the plans that I run is just going and looking at the derivatives market and just simply asking, if we get a 50% retracement, can I go buy an option that's got lots and lots of time? And if we get back to the 50% rule, that option will double versus the premium that I paid. And so this trade is actually starting to set up saying, yep, if you go buy 6 month options, if we go back to the 50% rule, your option will be worth twice intrinsic value what it is today. So these are the kind of names, and I actually do like the idea of maybe like this thing revisiting this big old honking gap. You can see the battle in here. This key failure low. Obviously, this is an important swing level. And then names like Hut, same sort of logic, although actually I like this one even better, and I actually bought the stock. There's just nothing more than just come right back down against the bottom end of the range. And, Brian in his good old reload zone. So as soon as we start entering reload zones, I start nibbling away. Actually started my nibble campaign at the 78.6 here, and I've just been accumulating. Got another bid working down here at 90 cents here. But this is a perfect sort of tax loss selling kind of idea. And it was interesting to see that this guy actually fired an inside bar buy signal this morning. So we'll see what happens. Believe it or not, actually, I'd like to see a little bit lower because I still got a bid down here at the gap. But if this is the bottom, I can live with what it is. And the cool part about this guy, right, if you're buying here around $1, you can see the 50% rule, having events, all that kind of stuff, sitting basically up around $2. So is it realistic for me to be able to sell half on a double, get a risk-free trade? Yeah, not bad. I mean, it's got all the hallmarks, right? Buy when it snows, sell when it goes, having an event coming up. These guys here are actually, they got a pretty darn low cost of production. We're coming into key technical levels, so really chart should speak for itself. The icing on the cake, of course, will give me a big fat W here, and away we go. But that hasn't happened yet, so. Just popping quickly over to crypto. Story really hasn't changed a heck of a lot here, but, we have enjoyed a really nice counter trend rally back into resistance. You can see the 50% rule of this range. Not really a shock what's happened here. The problem here is that this rally is off of a new low, so really this rally here is just fluff. And ultimately the question is, can we actually start putting in structure and turning back up? Because we made a new low here, this low unfortunately has been negated, so we have to wait for another test of these lows, then a turn back up, and also too tax loss selling. Would it make sense for this thing to be relatively weak into year end? Sure, I mean it's logical. I remember we talked lots and lots about this tail needing to be eaten when we were zooming up, and sure enough that's come down into that level. You can see also, too, if we just look at this range, maybe we'll include the bottom there. On the profile, it almost looks like there's a mini profile developing here. Huge open hole here. So I like the idea of the market slowly working its way lower here. But I do understand having events coming up here. So at some point, this son of a gun is going to bottom. And actually what I'm seeing on a lot of Litecoin, or not Litecoin, Litecoin, but a lot of altcoins, the short trade's over, right? And really now it's just a question of, here, yeah, we could have a bit more to go, but really, should we get too excited about shorting ideas in green boxes? That's not really in your best interest. So too late to sell. Maybe a little too early to buy, but at the same time too, because we are in green boxes, nanny nibbles, you starting to accumulate, don't have a problem with that. And really, I don't think the message has really changed a heck of a lot. I don't really like getting into it too much with you guys, but short term, this is the kind of the tweets that I've been putting out. If we can accept above 7,300 here, this happens to be on Bybit. I don't know what your cash market is you're looking at. And you can see 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows, 5 lows, 6 lows. Geez, that's a heck of a lot of lows. If we start pushing our way up here, I could very easily see a rally back up into 8,100. It's going to take a bit of a push, but at the same time too, I also do like, Santa Claus rally. think of it this way. If Johnny and Janie wake up Christmas morning and they're teenagers, so they're on their computers and all the kids are talking cryptocurrencies and what's going on. Johnny's on the dark net and hanging out over in Mount Gox and all that. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't 2012. This is 2019. Whatever the appropriate exchange is. And actually, it was interesting. A lot of American users of Trex got a polite email this morning. They were passing it around the site this morning that, hey, better pay attention. But anyway, point of the matter here is, if this is going to resolve bullishly, then I could very easily see a push up into sort of Christmas morning. Keep in mind, this is like a 30-minute chart, right? So, Christmas is actually all the way over here. If this takes some time to work its way up, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I would be very, very cautious. Once we get on the other side of Christmas, the kiddos have opened their stockings. They've gone and bought all the shill coins, pump and dumps, whatever that's gotten the kids' attention. All that ammunition has been spent. Let's be very careful heading into the end of the year. But we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. And really, in the short term, it's just simply a question. If you see Bitcoin price above 7,300, then it sounds to me like we're going to go test higher. If you see Bitcoin lose this 7,000 area, and really you can actually see it now. If we M out here and you see Bitcoin below 7,000, then that means that this rally failed and we're going to dump. It's pretty simple right now. Finish off this little free video. We're always looking for new ideas in venture cap to consider putting our money to work. We've been following this Eternity, and this is I wanted to mention this because this is a good example of often you see Brian talk about which coin is hot. Okay, boom, the market pops up. Don't chase. Draw your reload zones. Be patient, disciplined. Blah blah blah. And I thought this was such a great example where, we have to wait for the bull to start showing itself back up. And this kind of move here is actually going to start creating bullish divergences in our indicators. And now, if you're an aggressive trader, you're just hitting levels. So I don't have a problem if aggressive, more veteran traders that have been at this for a while, they see that we're below value, we're back against original market structure. I mean, heck, you could even argue that this was an inside bar reversal, so if the price ever got back down there, that's your buy level, and gee whiz, look at that level. But if you want to take it a little bit slower, right, let the market pop, draw your reload zones. All right, at this point now, I can start doing things like hunting for signs of divergence. That is showing me that the market's actually stronger than what the price is leading you to believe. And hopefully we see here, oh gee whiz, we're actually starting to get this big honkin' MACD divergence developing here. And you could even argue on things like Willie we're getting divergences. But I thought, should this rally here confirm this divergence, now we can actually get to the point of, all right, now we got the markets telling us, and let's maybe assume we do something like that, just hypothetical. Now we can actually go into the process of starting to hunt a W to actually justify us pulling the trigger. So it's just such a great illustration. Don't chase. Let the market come back to levels. Use reload zone tools to help you see those levels. And then once we start coming down into trade location, you can use high to low trend lines. You can use volume profile. You can use reload zones. There's a bunch of different tools you can use. Then we want to start seeing, okay, give me signs of divergence and all that kind of stuff. And, there's a really good example here recently, this crazy UBIC. And what was so bizarre about this UBIC was I actually took the chart and I drew when we were coming down into here. I was like, okay, well, give me a nice polite W here. And look at this. This is ridiculous. I drew this W like weeks ago when we were over here. And, I mean, look how cliche this is. And the irony of it all is I think that's actually your buy signal right there today. Nice little inside bar reversal right off the double bottom level. Reload zone within a reload zone. I mean, this is almost sick how cliche this is sometimes. So we'll see how that goes. But, I just wanted to point out, always a good idea to watch these things versus USD, because then that way you have some sort of stable base to measure. And it's not, like the problem with the UBIC chart here is that was this rally because UBIC was so great and they were doing wonderful things, or was this rally because of the Bitcoin dump? So that's the one reason why I don't like studying these. And if we look at this versus USD, it looks quite different. But same sort of logic here. This is the eternity versus US dollars. We actually did go to new lows, but notice, oh boy, look at that big ass divergence. And then this is what I really like, is when you start seeing things like on balance volume divergences. Wow, that is huge. And then all of our Da Vinci fans out there, you see the W's in price momentum and the W's in volume momentum. So again, and then of course below value, at or below reload zones, at old lows, all that kind of talk. So I like the idea now on this guy, just sort of letting this divergence come in like we saw off the Bitcoin price. I don't know how long that takes. And then show me a W and we can start rocking and rolling. But it's just such a great analogy. We often talk about markets that have gone zooming up. And of course, you can't chase them. You're not allowed to. And so what do you have to do? Well, you got to be patient and disciplined, draw your reload zones, and just be patient. Right? And here was an excellent example in this case. That patience and discipline was basically about 2 months of just waiting. And that's the hallmark of a trader's life. So really interesting analogy there this morning. So keep your eyes on this bad boy if you are in the market to purchase altcoins. Okay, I've been blabbing away forever here. Hope you guys got some value. Here's a good example of one you can't chase. Don't chase this. So in our video, right, drawing reload zones, and my hunch is probably in a month or two, we'll see this thing back down here, and we'll be talking about, are there W's, are there divergences, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I think we'll leave the free video at that. Hope you guys got some value out of that. You're having a good holiday. Peace and love in your world. All the best. Thank you so much, TRIers and all our community and staffers for helping me pull this crazy site off. Have a great holiday if I don't talk to you. All the best. And the only thing left for good old Brian to say at this point is a big bye for now.